London's West End, a global shopping destination, home to luxury brands and designer stores. But amid the glamour, an immigration-fueled wave of shoplifting is hitting these iconic streets hard. Asylum seekers have been caught shoplifting designer items worth thousands of pounds from some of London's most exclusive retailers. Recent reports have revealed that gangs, many staying in taxpayer-funded hotels, have been caught shoplifting thousands of pounds worth of designer clothing and accessories from high-end shops like Liberty and Polo Ralph Lauren. An unnamed private security worker told the Sun newspaper that the area is verging on lawless, claiming that 70% of people shoplifting in the West End are asylum seekers. He added that the police rarely attend and the maximum we can hold them for is 4 hours. After that, we just have to let them go. We see the same faces again and again. The whistleblower also explained that when they are detained, the shoplifters often show ID cards and admit to being asylum seekers, while in other cases he claimed that they say they came over on boats and that their addresses are hotels. Independent investigations like the Sun's have revealed that some migrants are handing over stolen goods to middlemen in what's thought to be a way of paying off their debt to people smugglers. New shoplifting figures reveal a 20% increase in the year ending March 2025, marking the highest level since police began using their current recording methods in March 2003. This spike in crime has led Reform UK leader Nigel Farage to announce his party's plan to cut crime in half within their first 5 years of government if they are elected. Chair of Doge at Reform UK, Zia Youssef, debated his party's plans recently on Michelle Dewberry's show on Dewberry News.
Well, when was the last time you heard a political leader in this country stand up and say it's time to prioritise British people's safety and to talk about the human rights of women not to be afraid to walk home at night on their own or to be raped, or the right of British people to be able to walk around in a city and hold their smartphones not in fear of being snatched from their hands by some masked gangster, instead of constantly talking about the human rights of the criminals? Look, we are really focused on ensuring that this country is safe again, that British people feel safe. We're going to implement, as Nigel as Prime Minister, and you better believe it, is going to implement stop and search to the point of saturation. People talk about knife crime in this country as being some insoluble problem. No, it's not. Every social science study across the world, cross-culturally, pretty much decades now, an abundance of evidence. If you use stop and search and you do it properly, Michelle, deadly weapons are removed from the equation entirely. Number one. Number two, we will recruit 30,000 new police officers. We'll build tens of thousands of new prison spaces. We'll deport every single foreign criminal languishing in our prisons. And that's how we're going to ensure that if you commit a crime in this country, Michelle, you will face consequences. And by the way, I want to flag that it was the Tories over the 14-year period that they were in government last, in which they talked about that they brought in 6.5 million net new people through immigration. And do you know how many prison places they built?
How many?
411. 411. And now Labour, instead of building new prison capacity at great speed, which is exactly what Reform will do, Nightingale style, they're releasing violent criminals and sex offenders early. And Nigel's been very clear, not a single, zero violent criminals or sex offenders will be released early when Nigel's the Prime Minister. You do all of these things, we will make British people feel safe again. I want to say one last thing. That claim that Nigel made, that promise that we will halve the crime rate, well, 10% of criminals commit 50% of the crimes. If we successfully lock those 10% up, that gets us to that target there.
The revelations in migrant crime have intensified debate over the government's migrant hotel policy and the security of Britain's high streets. Critics say that failures to tackle the problem paint a troubling image of a Britain that's lost the plot. In a response, the government have announced a £700 million plan to roll out Texas-style crime-cutting courts that will force prolific thieves into strict rehab. Prisoner justice journalist David Shipley recently spoke on GB News about the rollout.
These are called intensive supervision courts. And I'm actually very keen on these because I think we often have this kind of fake distinction in this country between tough on crime and soft on crime. And by tough, we mean locking people up in jails where they often get addicted to more drugs and nothing good happens. And soft, we mean just letting people go and not solving crime. And the idea with intensive supervision courts is that people are given very personalized, specific things they have to do. The judge might say, right, you need to attend these programs, you need to stay clean, you need to not be taking drugs for the next 6 months, you need to demonstrate that you can get a job. If you come back and having done those things, I won't send you to jail. It's something they do in quite a lot in the US. And I think it's as long as it's backed up by really good interventions up when people get given those sentences, it can be very, very effective.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot to be said for it, and there's a lot of track record in the States to say it can work. The problem here is people who are shoplifting very often aren't getting arrested, so they're not even going to get into the system to begin with.
That is the huge issue. If you go back 10 years ago, about 15% of crimes resulted in someone being charged. Now it's less than 6%. So we've had a collapse in the rate of crimes actually being solved. I think for shoplifting, it's actually lower than that average. So people rightly want to see crime getting solved. And I think that's almost more important than how long we jail the people we catch for. People would rather that, half of or more of shoplifters are actually getting caught. The police are actually doing something about these crimes.
Is it helpful, though, and do you have hope that if you're looking at something in a holistic view like this, that if you can tackle drug and alcohol addiction, that does help tackle crime?
I mean, it does with a lot of property crime. A lot of property crime is driven by, by people who have drug addiction issues. And actually, if you could solve them, that would be a huge, huge reduction in crime. A lot of that sort of crime is also, though, driven by particular migrant groups, actually, if you look at the statistics. So there's a lot of organized criminal gangs, often Albanian migrants are particularly involved in this, where they are doing organized shoplifting as a business. So this won't really address that, but I think, yes, it can potentially make quite a big difference.
OK. David Shipley, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.